if you don't truly love the process, like I don't care what it is, you can want that macro result of being on top of the mountain. But if you don't like all the shit underneath, the ugly water, the mud, the blood, the sweat, just the adversity, it's never going to come to fruition.
If you haven't developed the skill of like getting really good at something to a high level and understanding that it takes time. And then honestly, like I enjoy that. Like I like the process. Like it's very similar to like how I got really good at football. It's like the result wouldn't be as good if you didn't understand the process it took to get there.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back for another episode of the podcast, The Determined Society. I am your host, Sean French, and I have once again a special treat for you guys. But before I get into it, if you guys could please go subscribe to the show. Leave a written review, 5-star, hopefully, and let me know your thoughts. We're not monetizing the show right now or running ads, so I would love to hear your feedback. And without further ado, I'm going to just get right down to business because it is 9:10 p.m. in Florida, and I want to first of all thank my guests for having such flexibility today. We've had to push back the time twice, but we're here. And we're excited to give this. So my guest today is a former 7-year quarterback out of Salinas, California. He played in the NFL for 7 years, and right now he's navigating life after football and using the skills that he learned there to raise a 4-year-old daughter, a 2-year-old son, and really just be an overall amazing human being and tackle his business and his after sports career. Great thing about my guest today is he is married to his 8th grade girlfriend, and you do not hear that very often. So, David Fales, man, welcome to the show, brother.
Man, Sean, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. Yeah, glad to be here.
Yeah, dude. I mean, look, man, we connected on the gram and I think it was within probably about a week. I was like, dude, this dude's legit, man. I'd love to have a conversation with this guy sometime soon and, kind of hear his story. And brother, here we are, man. We're getting it done. So
we're doing it. Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm appreciate reaching out.
Yeah, man. We funnily enough for the listeners, David and I grew up not too far from each other. Like you're more Monterey, right? Like in that area?
Yeah, I'm like Salinas, Monterey. Yeah.
Gotcha.
You're a little north?
I'm the East Bay. I was in the East Bay, dude. I grew up in, Concord?
Yeah.
I was born in Walnut Creek. Yeah.
Concord, that's De La Salle?
Yeah, bro. Dude, so I went to Ignacio Valley my first 3 years, the redhead stepchild right behind De La Salle. And then I transferred to Clayton Valley my senior year. But yeah, man, that's it, dude. That's my hometown, Concord, California.
Yeah. My high school played them kind of when they were on there and at the end of their first long streak. And
yeah.
It was fun to play them. They got after us.
Yeah, dude, they were dope, dude. They were so good, man. But dude, you're no stranger to good football. Like I said, you're an NFL quarterback for 7 years. But the one thing that was really cool, I mean, we'll just start, light and just talk about your time at San Jose State, man. I mean, that dude, that was the first time you guys were ever ranked in the college or whatever, the top or whatever it was. You guys finished 11-2. Was that what year was that for you? Was that your senior year?
No, that was my junior year, but it was my first year there. And that I think was one of the best years San Jose had. And maybe one of the highest. They were ranked. We were 21. We finished 21. But I always say it was such a perfect situation for me because I was in Monterey, which is an hour south. These guys had kind of been going through it the last couple of years. They were 5 and 6, I think, the year before. They were even worse than that the year before that. But they had been kind of setting the foundation, building the culture. And I'd also been kind of going through my grind too at NPC, the junior college in Monterey. So I had Indiana State. And then the day after Christmas, some of the coaches came down, worked me out just because I had decent stats. They had to do their due diligence. Ended up really liking me, offered me last minute. And it was a perfect situation because they had all been playing, built the foundation. They just needed somebody to get them the ball. And it was a really fun year. Yeah,
dude. I mean, I can imagine, bro. I mean, you guys lit it up that. We're 11-2 or something like that. Really, really cool year. Really cool year. I did the junior route, the junior college route for myself as well. And, man, I tell you what, that was some fun times in JUCO. You don't really understand the gravity of what's going on. Sophomore year in JUCO, you think you're invincible, and it's just bro, I'm going anywhere I want. And then you realize years later, shit, man, thank God I went somewhere because that could have been it for me.
Yeah,
those are pivotal times, man.
It was because I'd got a scholarship to UNR, Nevada Reno, out of high school.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, because it was Kaepernick's junior year when I was there, and they were doing really well. And I shouldn't have been there because they were running that offense with Kaepernick, and I'm not. I ran a 4.9. He runs like a 4.4, and I wasn't going to be that guy. So I ended up bouncing back, and like I thought I was going to be that guy. It's like I'm D1. I'm going to bounce back, and then I'm going to ball out at JC, and then get my Division I offer. And my first 5 games, I was rotating with the guy who had been starting the year before. So I was like, did I just mess up? Like I had my school paid for, now I don't. But it was a really crucial time for me to just learn how to compete, kind of control what I can control. And then it was one of the funnest times I've had. Like I enjoyed it. It was super fun. And I was in Monterey driving Highway 1 every morning to school, which I took for granted, which was so nice.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I think, the one thing that I really loved about that little story there was you had the your college paid for at UNR, and you're like, all right, I don't fit into the system. I don't run a 4.4 like Cap does. Bounce back, go to JUCO thinking you're going to dominate right away. And you're rotating in and out with a dude that was there before. And it was like that time is probably one of the first times, like you said, like, whoa, shit, did I mess up? Like, what am I doing here? I don't even have my school paid for now. Like, what is this going to mean for me? And can you walk us through your mindset of getting from that mindset there to kind of ascending out of that and understanding what you needed to do and how you performed so well?
Yeah. That time really kind of laid the foundation on how I was going to compete and move forward and kind of control what I can control in a lot of other situations moving forward. But I hadn't really competed at that level yet. Like I was good in high school and I had to compete with some other kids, but not to the extent where I was rotating like half a season and how to figure it out. So I got to a point in training camp, or maybe it was even the off season, where I was like, I am worrying about so many things that are out of my control. Like, what is he doing? Who am I playing with? Just so many things that I couldn't control. And I got introduced to Mind Gym by Gary Mack. And I started doing some of the stuff that he talks about in terms of like visualization and like creating this highlight reel for me. And I was like, wow, this stuff works. But on top of that, I also was like, I'm going to stop worrying about 10 things that I need to get better at, and half of them I can't even control. And like, let's pick one thing I can get better at. Like maybe it's my 3-step drop. And if I dial that in, everything else is going to kind of play itself out. And then I was less anxious. I was less worried about everything. I was just out there again, having fun, and focusing on one thing that I knew I could control. And if I handled that, everything else was going to be good. So eventually I ended up starting halfway through the season and got San Jose, after the next year. But that really helped me kind of moving into San Jose, because also when I first got to San Jose, I was rotating with 2 other quarterbacks until the week of Stanford, week 1. So then it was like the same thing. And I'd already done it 2 years ago before. So I was primed for that. But it was literally kind of the same situation. I was just like, I'm going to enjoy this, like pick a few things that I can control on every day and get better at, and let everything else just happen.
Dude, it is such a metaphor for life, bro. Like really think about that. There's not a whole lot of kids in junior college, baseball, football, basketball, or even students, at that age that can literally remove the emotion of the situation and go, okay, I can't control those 5 things. So I'm going to pay attention to the few things that I can control, and I'm going to execute and focus on those things. That is huge, man, because what happened there, and this is why I'm so glad you're on the show, dude, because my listeners love this kind of stuff. Right? It's like, okay, what can we do to control the situation? Well, you can't control who you're playing with or, what that dude's doing over there. The only thing that you can do is focus on your your drop or whatever, or whatever you need to pre-step drop, your execute, that's your deal. And if you can take care of your side of the street, it is going to remove every single bit of anxiety that you have throughout every single day. That to me right there is so powerful, because if you wouldn't have been able to understand that at that point, you would have been done at San Jose State. Like really think about that, because you wouldn't have had the tools, right? So
I wouldn't have made it. I don't know if I would have got through junior college.
That's it, man. Like that's the thing, dude. And like, that's why I love sports, and I know one of your biggest things is like what sports has taught you. See, I played baseball at a high level. I played at Louisiana State University, played at LSU from 01 to 03. Yeah. And I got there and I thought like this is great. I belong there. And as soon as I walked on campus, I turned into a fanboy. It's like that paradigm shift in the wrong fucking direction, right? It was like, oh my God, these guys just won the College World Series last year. Oh my God, there's so-and-so. He scored the winning run. You're like, oh, he hit a bomb, in game 2. It's like, wait a second. I wasn't able to control what was going on around me because I was focused on everybody else. And I was comparing myself. And as we know, comparison is the root of all evil, man. It will destroy. Yeah, it'll completely destroy you. So learning that at a young age, like you did, man, that I feel like that's probably what led you to be successful at San Jose State, and even getting to the NFL for 7 years, man. Like, I didn't learn that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah. I like in the last 2 years, I've had a lot of time to kind of reflect on how I got good. I think because for so long I was in like hyperspeed mode, where it was high school, college, NFL, and everything was happening so fast. And you don't even, you do when you're in it, but not to the extent that I do now, have like an appreciation and an understanding of what I've learned. And because I think sometimes even now I'll get caught up in like worrying about stuff I can't control, or like trying to just bite off stuff that's too big. And it's like, all right, let's break this down. What can I control? I want to make a certain amount of money, or I want to have a goal. Like, all right, let's chop that in half, or chop that in a quarter. And like, how can we achieve that? I think, I was fortunate also to have some really cool mentors in my life, and role models that helped me like instill those foundational skills. I had, a quarterback coach that hooked up with me my freshman year, and I still talk to him to this day, but he like really taught me to like every day, like we're going to get better at 3-step drop today. We're going to get better at throwing on the run today. And I think like I had that ingrained in me. And sometimes when you kind of get away, I would get away from my coach a little bit and go to another team. And it's like, you kind of forget and lose sight of what got you here. And it's kind of easy, especially when you go from like high school to college to NFL. You think you got to reinvent the wheel to kind of get there. And sometimes you do. Like, not, they would say like, what got you here isn't what's going to keep you here. And that's true sometimes, but also you got there for a reason. So like, don't change everything. Cause I think sometimes I would be the first guy to like reinvent the wheel, because it's not going to keep me here. Yeah. But there's some stuff that I need to keep that got me here. If that makes sense. So
that makes a lot of sense, man. Cause I think that, people do that in their professional life all the time, right? I see it in the corporate and in the sales environment constantly, right? People get hired because they are qualified to do a job, right? Yeah. And their skills got them from that point, from, a point way over here to this specific point in time. Maybe it's an opportunity at a really big corporation to make 6 figures or whatnot. And then when they get there, they shit the bed, right? Because it's like, oh my God, they go into vapor lock and they just can't perform because they're trying to be somebody they're not. They're trying to reinvent the wheel, so to speak, like you're saying, and like be the corporate robot, read off the brochure, and not bring themselves to the party. It happens in sports, it happens in business, it happens in entrepreneurship. And it's like one of those things like, listen, we know we need to focus and get better every single day. But to your point, let's work on this one thing today. Right? Yeah. Like, know what you're getting into on a day-to-day basis and just hyper focus on it and get better.
Yeah. I've kind of gone through that too, because I'm in sales now in the corporate world. And I think I was trying to fit in and be something that I guess I wasn't, because it was a new environment. I've been playing football my whole life. I'm like, I have no idea how to work my laptop right now and set all this stuff up.
What's this thing? Like, what is this thing?
Yeah, all the tools that come with it. I'm like, what is going on? And I think it's just, you said something there. It's like where you try to be somebody you're not. And my brother, when I was going through the interview process, told me something. It's like, dude, if they don't like you, you don't want to be there anyways. Like, just be you, because that's who you don't like. You're not going to be somebody else the entire time you're there. So just like be who you are. You're enough, and that's going to be good. You're here for a reason. And then he's like, you played in the NFL for 6 years, and I'm like, it's like it's easy to sometimes forget that. And I always say that too. I like, even when I was in the league, there was almost like 2 people within me. It's like the guy I was Monday through Friday, and I was like terrified. I was unsure of why I was here, but I think that's why I was so good, because I would work so hard Monday through Friday to show up for Saturday or Sunday, depending on college or NFL. But then there was like a switch I could flip game day where I'm like, it's go time. Like, nobody out here is going to beat me. Like, and I think it's a combination of like the trust I have with the players, all the work we put in together. I know who I'm going out there with, but it's a mindset and a mentality, and it's something I've been like kind of navigating. I think in this pivot into regular life is like, how can I be that guy every day? And it's like a choice, and it's being intentional about that, and really kind of dissecting like, what are the thoughts and beliefs that I'm telling myself that are preventing me from being that guy?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's been interesting.
No, it's a really good point, man, because like, you know, and I always believe it too. Like I work so hard, you know, repping out whatever it is I'm doing, whether it's the podcast, whether it's my business or my 9-to-5 job. I work so hard because I fear the other side. Like I've lost everything before and I'm not going back there. Right. So I work so hard, and sometimes I almost work scared. And then when it's showtime, it's lights out. I don't think about anything. It's tunnel vision. It doesn't matter, right? So you work all week for that one moment. And the one thing that you can do in your corporate career now moving forward is you can treat every single task like a practice plan. Oh, okay, from this point, we're doing these drills, right? You execute them. I'm going to get real good at this. Okay, I wasn't real good at that. Here were the good things I did, but I could improve on X, Y, Z. So, all right, tomorrow I'm going to improve on that, but I'm going to move on to the next rep, the next revolution, right? And then bang, when it comes down to that closing table, it's game over. That's game time, right?
Yeah.
Sales, well, actually life and sports are so parallel. And, you know, a lot of times people look at me like I have two heads when I talk about how important sports are at a very high level. And it's almost like people get really triggered when I say that. Sorry, guys that are listening that didn't play a high level sports. I'm not saying that you suck at life. I'm just fucking telling you, we learned a lot about life a lot earlier. Okay. The shit ain't fair, right? What would you say to somebody if they asked you, hey, what did sports really teach you about life?
I think, again, as I've taken time, I'm like, success is translatable in all areas. Like the formula is the same. It's just you got to kind of dissect it and put in those principles. And I think it's like being a quarterback. Like it taught me so much just to learn how to get good at something. I just kind of like, look, how did I start? I got with a coach and I grinded like 5 days a week, 2 hours a day, and developed a skill until I was one of the best. And then you got to be like, there's aside from like being able to throw a ball, you got to be able to communicate, learn, and develop and adapt. I think like the leadership skills that it taught me that I didn't even realize were happening. I was never a rah-rah guy, and I was like, I don't still need to be a rah-rah guy in this second half of, or whatever, this next chapter of my life. Like I can lead by example, because that's what I always said when I was playing. Like when I did speak, it meant something because all the guys that were around me knew I was doing all the right things. And it was credible, because sometimes you see those guys, even now, we're like on IG or in life, people are just talking, and I'm like, are they really that guy? I don't know. But the people who do know you, if you are on there, they do know you're that guy, and that's who you want to be anyway. So, man, like how to compete, like how to handle a bad day, like. Do you shut it down and not show up? And I think I have to address those days a little bit differently now than I did in football, because I think there were a lot of bad days I never addressed because I couldn't take the time to address. I had to like put that one in the back and will not think about that ever again, because I got to show up and keep my job. So that's not how I necessarily handle it today, but like you still have to perform and take care of your family and whatever it is. Like I can't just take a month off because I'm not feeling it. There's just so many things. The communication, like being able to, especially in sales, like being a quarterback, I was communicating to linemen, to receivers, with my coaches, with everybody. You're essentially like a head coach on the field, and then being able to perform in high pressure situations. There's like so many things like that. Playing it at a high level, like you said, has helped me now. But I think there's a lot of things when I first got out that I will, again, I guess essentially sports taught me this, but like I'm not going to attach who I am to what I'm doing with the identity thing, because that was something that was tough when I first got out, like that really for like the first year where I was kind of going through it, and there's a lot of stuff I wasn't ready for. And I'm realizing a lot of guys kind of go through that.
Yeah.
So that was definitely interesting.
Yeah. Dude, those are all great lessons. The two biggest takeaways for me that I want to share with you, and they're very interesting. At the very beginning, you talked about if you had to get really good at something, you worked your ass off and it was like something you did for 5 hours straight until you got it right. Why is it that, do you think that people in business or that are transitioning out of sports and into sales environments, et cetera, there are some people that don't take that same grit and desire into that different arena? It always confuses me. Is it because if you know it works, right? There's so many different people. Why do you think people sit there and say like, hey, you know what? Hey, I had all these results as a quarterback or as a, middle infielder at Division I baseball. It's because I eat, sleep, and drink that shit. But where's the translation lost?
I'm just thinking this now. I think like when I was younger, it wasn't as easy for me to have access and visibility into like what everybody was doing, I guess, or these pros. I don't know. I think now it's easy to get lost in like seeing the results and not seeing all the work that was put in. You see whatever your NFL player is doing and you want to be like him, and you don't realize this guy has been doing so many things to get to where he is. Anybody who's successful, you just kind of see the result and you don't really see it. And I think you're able to see a lot of those results more now with social media and the access that we have.
Oh yeah.
I don't know that like I think, and people are like, oh, I want that. And, I mean, everybody wants that. It's fine, but you just don't have an understanding of how much time it took for somebody to get there. And then maybe you quit because it's you're like, oh, I'm never going to be there. I don't know what it is, but if you haven't developed the skill of like getting really good at something to a high level and understanding that it takes time, and then you honestly, like, I enjoy that. Like I like the process, like something that I've been talking about a little bit on Instagram, and I'm going to talk about more, but like I got into working out, like, and I liked it because of the similar thing of setting a goal and just being able to like grind away and see the results. And but it's very similar to like how I got really good at football. It's like the result wouldn't be as good if you didn't understand the process it took to get there,
There it is. There it is. The process, right? It's something that I think is hard for a lot of people. The process, when they lay out a process, they know, let's say something's going to work. I need to make these many calls today. I need to set this many appointments. I need to close this many per month. So then you can back through your metrics and see what's going to work for you. And, but if you don't truly love the process, like I don't care what it is, you can want that macro result of being on top of the mountain. But if you don't like all the shit underneath, the ugly water, the mud, the blood, the sweat, the tears, and like just the adversity, it's never going to come to fruition. And what you mentioned about social media, like, look, everybody listening, I want to be very, very clear. The people behind social media profiles, like myself, like Dave, and all the other individuals that you see out there, have actual lives that they're producing actual results, right? So he was an NFL quarterback for 6 years. I played Division I baseball. I've been a high-level sales individual for multiple corporations, all the receipts, all the acrylic awards, all the trips, everything like that. But yet, you don't see that, right? People don't see that. Right. That's LinkedIn. If you want to know who somebody is professionally, go to LinkedIn. Like that's going to tell you, like it should tell you, right? It really should tell you. But like, the access you're talking about social media, it's so easy to look, to click that damn app on your phone and scroll and see everybody who's doing so much better than you. Right.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know how long it took that individual to get there. So when people are coming up to me and be like, hey, man, you're blowing up on Instagram, or you're blowing up in your business, man. It's like almost happened overnight. I'm like, yeah, okay. Overnight.
Yeah.
Doesn't feel like overnight. It feels like I've been working at this since 2008 when I lost everything. And I started to talk about that. Like more recently, like if you go back in like the last couple of weeks, I'm like, all right, cool. I'm going to let it all out. People are going to know who I am. I want people to be able to connect with me more because I want them to know like, hey, there's real people out here and I'm just not going to talk about all the good shit. Right.
Yeah.
Because there's a process that went on for me to get to where I am. And trust this, I am grateful for where I'm at in my life. I have a beautiful wife, 3 beautiful children, an amazing house, a great podcast, a great business, a great 9 to 5, right? A bit with a nice title. and a lot of great responsibilities. I'm grateful,
Yeah.
but I'm not satisfied.
Yeah.
And so whatever the process needs to be for me to do certain things in this world, in this life, to achieve that macro result that everybody wants, I am willing to go through all the shit in between.
Yeah, because I think you have perspective and you've taken time to really assess what you want. I think that's something I've done in this next chapter too. I realized when I was in NFL, like I had this dream. I wanted to get to the NFL, but I never really dreamed past the NFL. And that was kind of a weird thing too. It's like, I was like, oh man, and it sounds crazy to say, but because everyone's like, football's going to end, and everybody told me that in high school, college, and NFL, and it. Yeah. But when you're in it, and I'm just trying to hang on, it's like, it's not ending today. Like I'm not like I'll have an idea of what I want to do and get exposure to different spaces, but like football was my dream when I was a sixth grader. I was writing letters to Drew Brees, Tom Brady, like
so freaking cool, dude.
Yeah, and I think I'm in this next chapter kind of thinking with the end in mind a little bit. I don't want to, because I realize like, okay, I have the skills to do what I want, but I don't want to look back 20 years from now and think like, man, you idiot, you just did the same thing. You just grinded. Because you'll see some people that like, I went to a Tony Robbins event, and this guy had sold a company for billions of dollars and was like trying to figure out what he was going to do next. Like he was kind of lost almost. And I was like, man, I realize it's not just a me thing. Like there's so many other people that go through this, and it's got to be bigger than all of that, And that's,
it's a purpose, David. It's a purpose, man. When we find our purpose, it doesn't matter. There's no money, right? You can scale a company and you can sell it for $1 billion. But if you're that rat and you're that dude or that woman that wants to keep pushing because it's inside you, like you have to keep going. You will die on the vine if you don't. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that like having the end in mind and knowing where you want to go is a super powerful tool, brother, because, you'll be able to see it in the distance, and now you can reverse engineer what you need to do to get there. Right. And it's almost like people always ask me like, hey, like, what are you chasing? I was like, man, like I fail at it every single day, but I'm chasing the dude that when I die, God introduces me to who I'm supposed to be, who his vision was for me. And if I go to heaven and I don't know or recognize who I'm supposed to be, that's my biggest fear in life.
Gosh, I say that all the time. That's my hell. Like if 30 years from now, I look back and think about all the things I wish I would have done. Like that is a scary place to be.
So scary, bro. And it's like every day, dude, like, and you can appreciate this. You're a husband and a father. It ain't always pretty. It ain't, it's, You get mad at your wife. You and your wife have arguments, and then your kids. You have a 2 and a 4. Luckily, y'all are still working man to man, so I don't even want to hear your racket over there. Okay, you can conquer and divide. Once you throw a third one in there, you're in zone and you are done.
Oh man,
okay, you're outnumbered. You're done, dude. But it's not pretty, right? It's like, especially you had your 2-year-old, right? Your son, right in the middle of the pandemic, right? And so, like, that was 2020, right?
Yeah.
I mean, dude, like that is a hard thing to navigate, right? And that was probably right when your transition happened too. So all these things, these big life moments are coming, and it's almost like for somebody like you and I that hold the end game in mind of who we want to become, and there's all these obstacles that can get in our way every single day. It's almost like, oh my gosh, dude, like I failed today. Because I can literally sit there and tell you today, like I failed today. Like there's so many things that I could have done better, in my relationship with my wife or my kids. Like I got irritated with my 6-year-old today.
Yeah.
Because like I was like in the middle of like 70 different calls, all these tasks, and they're home from school because it's Thanksgiving week here in Florida. They get the whole week off. And it's like, daddy, I'm like, what? I'm like, oh my God, like what's wrong with me? So I'm on a rant. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I'm on a rant about it, but that's the thing, man. It's a hard process.
Yeah. I think there's a balance to it though. Cause I don't know if we'll ever get that out of, like sometimes I don't want to always walk away, because I think there'll, being the way we are high achievers, like there's always going to be something we can get better at. And it's not like I was in football, it would hurt me during the week. And then eventually,
Yeah.
like I'd correct it however I needed to feel good about going into the game. But it's not as easy when I'm walking into the house feeling like shit or whatever I did, or I'm anxious because I don't think I did enough to help us out or whatever. And
Yeah.
when you kind of get perspective, it's like, you're actually doing all right. Like chill out and enjoy
Yeah.
your family. But I think you said something earlier too, that helps you just being grateful. Like you can
Yeah.
be, once you take that grateful mindset and it's like a healthy anxiety in terms of like wanting to get better.
Yeah.
There's a balance there. But when you have that grateful perspective, it kind of just shifts everything. Something I've noticed in the last year.
No, absolutely. You know, I'm going to tell you, man, one of the things that I need to get better at is filtering that, because a lot of it, dude, there's days where it's not a healthy anxiety for me. My mind will not stop. You know, I can attribute that to being a catcher, right? At a very high level. It's like, I was always aware. Like I'm always looking around in baseball. I don't know if football's the same way. I played football 1 year. I'm a big bitch and I quit because it hurt. Like I played freshman football and I'm like, yeah, bro, I'm a sack quarterback. It's going to be great. And, second practice ever, I shoot through a gap and the running back blew me up. I'm like, nope, nope. I have like a promising baseball career. I'm like, these guys are stupid. I don't know what these people are thinking. It was like the worst pain ever. I'm like, bro, that was terrible. And, you know, as a catcher, it was, you're always looking around. You're always seeing if everybody else is where they're supposed to be. You're looking for a sign. You're trying to pick somebody else's signs. And so my brain never stopped. And, you know, even now on a day-to-day basis, I don't think it does stop. I don't like it.
I'm the same way. And my wife are like, hey, where are you right now? And I'm like, oh.
I'm like, okay. Man.
Yeah. And, I mean, I'm like, I've been on and off with meditation and like just trying to be present and like putting whatever I'm thinking about to the side just cause I will get like locked in. She's like, you are on another planet right now. I'm like, yeah, and then but she knows, and I've been doing this with her forever. I kind of communicate it to her and she'll give me some grace, but it gets old when kids are thrown in the picture a little bit for her. So
yeah, dude. I mean, I feel that, bro, because, you know, being present, you know, as a father and as an adult is extremely hard. But when you're severely driven to provide this amazing lifestyle for your family to a point where you never have to worry about going on that great vacation, you don't even need to check the bank account. There are certain sacrifices in order to achieve that, right? Or investments in yourself that you have to make. So I don't know if they're sacrifices. It's for you. It's an investment. We're not taking anything away. But dude, there's those moments, man, where you're not present. And that's the hardest thing for me, you know, and it's humbling because when I realize it, or my wife's just like, hey, can you be present? Like what's going on? You know, I initially get upset. It's like, well, I got all these things in my mind. Like what? I mean, like, how could I not be like elsewhere right now?
Yeah.
But dude, like it's something that I haven't perfected. So it's really nice having this conversation with you. And, you know, it's realizing that's why I love the show. You know, I'm telling you before we hit record, because we're having a nice conversation. Like literally, if I could do this 24/7, you know, like this is all I had to do was record podcasts with amazing people like yourself. That's what I would want to do, because in the process of that, what I learn every single time I do an interview, like I have so much in common with so many of my guests. I'm not going to say all of them. Some of them, like I can't even, I haven't even released, but like, you know, it's mind opening, man.
I mean, I've recently started doing podcasts more and just being a little bit more conscious and present of the conversations I'm having with people, because unfortunately, like the last 2 or 3 months, I've had a few events that I've been able to attend and like be around some high quality individuals and have some really cool conversations. But like these podcasts, like when do you ever have an hour conversation uninterrupted, without your phone, without your kids, without like anything? I'm like, you don't like, this is one of the longest conversations I've had this week. And are you diving into this in-depth stuff? Like,
yeah. You're not worried about what's going on. You know, you're not looking at your phone. Dude, it's like the only time I can put my phone on Do Not Disturb and not feel weird about it. Yeah. You know, I mean, I do it at night now, right?
Yeah.
But like, dude, that's the thing. It's like, it is so difficult as an adult, or even as a parent, to have that even uninterrupted time, even talking to your wife. Like, I don't know how it is. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, like, bro, it's like, and that's a frustrating point, right? Because, it's something's always interrupting. It's like, and again, to your point, that's why I love doing the podcast for those reasons. It's like, I learn a ton about other people and learn about how much I have in common with all these folks. And then two, it's like the only uninterrupted conversation I ever have.
It's so powerful. Just like,
yeah.
I think when I got out of the league in the last 2 years, I realized like networking is huge for many reasons. Like, you meet some really cool people, and then you naturally get connected to other people. It's all about half of it, at least, is who you know. And I think this is a big part of it, just being able to connect with people.
Sure.
And I've really, this platform is cool. And I listen to podcasts all the time, and you get to understand and hear people at a really in-depth angle. So it's awesome.
It truly is. Like, bro, like, that's the other thing as far as like networking. This is one of the best ways to network, because even if you're at a networking event or you're at a conference, you're not having this one-on-one here. So like, the people that I have on my show that I vibe with, like you, we're probably going to be friends after this.
Yeah.
Like, that's the way this works. Right. And, but to your point, the networking, man, this is one of the biggest networking opportunities that I've ever had is having a podcast.
Yeah.
No,
it's awesome. Yeah, I've had so many conversations, and I'm getting something in the works in terms of the podcast. I'm like, I've had so many cool conversations with people like yourself. And I'm like, if I would just record these, and wherever people are in stages of their life, career, or whatever, because like, whether it's pivoting out of football, or getting into sales, or being in football, like, man, if I could just record this and be like, hey, go listen to this one. Like, this will help you out. And then be able to connect them with that person as well is huge.
Yeah, dude, having conversations with people and being able to bless somebody else's life because of the conversations you've had prior, that's purpose. That's, and for me, when I look at things like, what is this conversation going to do for me and the other person? Like, can we help each other move forward? And if we can help each other move forward in our career and have a great conversation, but how can we help somebody else after that? Those are the conversations that I love having. I value those, right? Because you learn, like, again, man, I keep going back to learning about people. Like, you had your own journey when you exited the NFL. You went right into corporate America, and I respect the hell out of that. You know what I mean? And we're like, I could talk to you all freaking night, dude, because it's a chill vibe. It's like, we can go on and on and on. But like, bro, we're already up to the 40-minute point, so we got to start landing the plane here. I want you to get back to your family. I'm going to go binge out on some Netflix before I have to wake up and go to the gym in the morning. But I want to commend you for what you're doing out there, focusing on your transition. But the one thing that I love most about you, David, and I just want to acknowledge you, is the fact that you're focused on being a great dad and a great husband. And I have to ask you, because I remember my 8th grade girlfriend. I would have never married her. Dude, talk to me about that. That is so amazing that you are married to your 8th grade girlfriend.
Yeah, it is crazy. We lived around the corner from each other, and her dad didn't know that we were boyfriend and girlfriend. We were friends at the time. And it's so crazy because I'm like, she was 13. My daughter's 4. I'm like, in 9 years, like, I'm about to deal with this potentially. Like, it's crazy. But
she's on the other foot now,
Yeah. And, dude, I mean, it's been interesting because we've known each other through so many different chapters and phases of our lives, and have stuck together. And it's so cool. And I'm very appreciative of her. And it's like, of all the times in my career, she's been a rock for me, but even more so now, because like she has never seen me like this. She's seen me where I was confident. I was that football player. I was the guy, but the guy I was for a moment there, like, and she still hung by me. It was super cool, and just kind of reminded me, like, essentially a little bit who I was, and supported me through that. It was awesome. But she's a beast, and being a mom is a tough job, and she's crushed it. So
being a mom is tough, dude. Women are better than us, man. I don't care what anybody says. They're better at like 99.9% of the thing, like, quite literally. So have you always, I mean, were you guys together from 8th grade on?
We were off, for like a half a year in college, a half a year in the NFL. Like, yeah, probably a year total, not in those 17, or what is it now? It's like 19 years. Yeah.
That's incredible, dude. That's awesome, brother. I love that.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
She's awesome. She's great.
It's funny you said that you're gonna have to deal with that in like 9 years with your daughter. It's funny because I posted like a little story on IG last night. My daughter, my 3-year-old, almost 4, comes out, and she goes, I said, "Who's your best friend at school?" And she goes, "Blake." And my wife goes, "Why?" And she goes, "Because he loves me." I said, "Huh?" I was like, "Get upstairs." Yeah. She goes, "Okay." And she runs upstairs. It's like, I'm thinking like, this is like beginning to be anxietizing for me because she's 3. She's got a long way to go, but I have a 6-year-old, right? And so I'm going to be dealing with this soon. I think it's going to be like, 11 or 12 where, boys are going to be coming. I'm like, I don't even know what I'm thinking. It better not be, 5 years. Lock her in a room. But,
man, it scares me.
Yeah, it scares the hell out of me, man.
But I'm just trying to like set that example and be the bar for her, for who she evaluates guys that she lets into her life. That's I do think about it, but I'm also like, I want to be that guy that she's like, well, that's what I think a man's supposed to be. You're not even close. So like, I'm not even gonna waste my time. And I'm like, okay.
Dude, bro, that's like the most impactful part of the show right there. Like, as fathers, we get to have the opportunity to show our daughters what a man is and what they should be tolerating in their life and in their relationships. And for our sons, we set the bar of who they need to become and hopefully better than, like, I want my son to be better than me in every facet of his life. Like, I will get no appreciation out of my son being equally as good as me. I want him to be 17 times the man I am. And that's the amazing opportunity that we have as fathers, so
man, kids give you so much perspective. Like
in conversations like this, it's like, it starts to click, right? You're like, oh, wait a second. Like, this is the amazing opportunity that I have. Let's try to not get lost in the fucking weeds every day. Right? Like, really think about the opportunity that we have. But listen, man, I got a couple more questions for you. Again, this has been an amazing conversation. Hope the audience is enjoying this as they listen. And 2 big questions, man. Probably the 2 most important questions that I can ask you. The first one is, how can my audience best support you?
I think I'm trying to be more active on IG.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of share my story it's not going to hit everybody, but I think the people that it does hit, it resonates with. And so if they want to follow me on IG and share that, because I'm going to start kind of sharing my story a little bit more and eventually turn this into a podcast and share those conversations. So we're in the beginning of those works right now. So,
well, dude, that's easy. I mean, all your links will be posted here in the show. The show notes, so they can read that, click on you, and it'll take you right to your page where they can follow you. And guys, I really encourage you to, me and David, like I said, do follow each other. We found each other a couple months ago, I think, maybe not even that long ago. And, maybe a month ago, he followed me. I'm like, oh, this dude looks pretty cool, man. Let me, you always get these random follows, right? But, dug into his page. I'm like, oh, it's the dude right here. Hell yeah, man. Let's roll. Be friends with this guy. So, definitely hit the follow button on him and listen to his story. And he's out there to make the world a better place. The final question I have is, how can I best support you, man?
You're doing it, man. I appreciate you having me on here and just being able to share my story, this conversation, and just this relationship. So I appreciate it. Just having me on here.
Absolutely, brother. Well, if there's anything anything else that that you need, you could just hit me up, dude. You got my number.
Yeah, I will.
And I'll do whatever I can for you, brother. But All right, guys. Well, listen, man, it's getting super late and we are going to close this bad boy out. So I just want to remind you, if you enjoyed the show, please share it out. Tag me and my boy in your socials. We'll share it back to our stories. But more importantly, guys, throw out a written rating on Apple or, Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Subscribe to the show and do everything you can to take this podcast from top 10% globally to top 1% globally as quickly as possible. So without further ado, guys, happy Thanksgiving week. Y'all take care. Talk soon.